My brother was bringing a little silver tray with a teapot and 3 cups and saucers into the living room where I was sitting. "Don't give me that look," he said when I saw him in his blouse. Pink silk with a big pussy bow. One of Mum's. Fit him perfectly, besides the lack of bust. "What look?" I asked, dishonestly, unable to wipe the smile off my face. He ignored me and set the tray down on Mum's little antique coffee table. He was also wearing what looked like loose business pants. Men's or women's, I couldn't be sure. But the black ballet flats he had on his feet were definitely women's. When he set the tray down, he set about making minute adjustments to the teacups on the tray, making sure the handles were all the same direction and the teaspoons were all straight. The china saucers had bouquets of roses painted on them, all wrapped in ribbons. As he leant down, I noticed he had makeup on. Not much. Just foundation and a bit of nude lipstick. But enough that I could tell he was wearing it. "God," I said, watching his achingly fastidious performance with the teacups. "All this time with Mom and you're turning into her." He stopped what he was doing, embarrassed. "Is that all you've come to do? Make fun of me?" I shrugged. "I'm allowed to visit my mom and brother, aren't I? I just wanted to see how everyone was doing." "Yeah, right." He sat down on the plush sofa, making sure his blouse didn't crease. He looked dwarfed by all the throw cushions Mum had all over the place. All with fiddly tassels and embroidered flowers, all in pinkish rose colors. No, the house hadn't changed a bit since I'd last been. The room was stuffed full of pictures of Mum in her big 80s wedding dress in ornate antique frames, paintings of ladies in old-fashioned frilly dresses hung on the walls, a plethora of chintzy little vases and porcelain models of little girls, all frozen in time, playing games with ribbons in their hair. Enough to make an interior designer bring up their lunch. Everything in the room basked in a sickly sweet pinkish glow. I'd only been in there 10 minutes and I was already feeling claustrophobic. I don't know how Peter managed. Mum's taste in decor was so prim and feminine, I was starting to think he'd started to absorb it all osmotically. If I hadn't moved out when I did, it might have been me serving tea in a big frilly blouse. Wasting my Sundays having to listen to vapid conversations between Mum and her lady friends, serving tea out of silly little china tea sets. I wanted to break the awkward silence. I sat up straight and smoothed the skirt of my dress over my knees. "So, is this how you usually spend your Sundays?" "What do you mean?" "I mean like this, trotting about in girly shoes serving tea in dainty teacups." "They're not girly," he said, giving his shoes a glance. "And if you're trying to convince me you're not here to humiliate me, you're doing a bad job." I held my hands up in a gesture of innocence. "I don't want to humiliate you, I'm just interested." "Yeah, well, it sounds like you're making fun of me." "Well, not being funny, but if I come back home after a few months and find my brother dressed in one of Mum's blouses, I'm going to ask questions." "I mean, don't you think it's even a little unusual?" "No. Right, bro?" I said, rolling my eyes. Just a usual Sunday for Peter in his big girl's blouse. He crossed his arms, obviously hoping I'd change the subject. Fat chance. Was it Mum's idea? What was? Dressing like that? No. Wait, so it was yours? Well, no. I shook my head. Didn't you have plans to move out last time I saw you? Yes, but things fell through a bit with my job. The marketing thing you were doing? They moved the office, and they weren't paying me enough to rent my own place anyway. So you moved back in here with Mum. Basically. And you haven't got another job? No. Right. There was an awkward silence. I moved to pour some tea, but he stopped me. "I think Mummy would prefer if you waited for her to come down." I stopped, gave him a grin. "Mummy?" "Mum, sorry. But I'm thirsty," I said, and moved to pour myself a cup. But my brother was quick off the mark, stood up, picked the teapot himself, and bent over gracefully to fill my teacup halfway up to the brim. He sat down again, too tame to himself. "God, you're almost as fussy as she is," I said. "Makes me glad I moved out. Not all of us have that privilege." You've had plenty of privileges, Peter. It's what you do with them that counts. Not my fault everywhere's too expensive. Well, getting a job would be a start. I've tried. Like, you've applied to 1 or 2 jobs? Or you've actually committed to a plan, to focus on self-improvement, get some transferable skills, that kind of stuff? We're not all so wonderfully clever as you, Emily, he said, with a hint of venom in his voice. I was a bit annoyed with that comment, so I twisted the knife a touch. I'm not that clever. But if I were you, I would have studied law or something when you had the chance instead of going to university for creative writing or whatever Mickey Mouse degree it was. He rolled his eyes. Oh, right, so you've come to lecture me. Don't get your knickers in a twist. I'm just telling the truth. And don't hate me just because I'm doing okay. We sat in silence. Much better than rehearsing that same old tired conversation. I could hear Mum upstairs getting ready. Look, I said, carrying on where I left off. I'm just worried that the longer you leave it, the harder it's going to be for you. I'm well aware of that. And looking at you now, I think spending so much time living with Mum is rubbing off on you. I literally just brought in some tea, Emily. I don't know why you're making a big deal out of it. I looked at his blouse. Gave him the "I think you know what I'm talking about" expression. He shuffled in his seat self-consciously. They're just clothes. That's Mum's blouse, Peter. He shrugged. She likes me to dress nicely when guests come. Oh, so this is just for guests? You changing back into jeans and a t-shirt after this? No. Look. This is Mum's house. Not mine. She's nice enough to let me stay here while I get back on my feet. Yes, you've already told me about your concerted effort to find another job and move out. Very convincing. He went quiet again. I leant over and poured a drop of milk into my tea from the tea set's matching milk jug. So what do you do all day? I continued. Besides serving guests in cute ladies' blouses and toiling ever so hard to find another job? Just normal stuff. Wasting time on computer games. No, I don't play computer games anymore. Oh, I said, actually impressed for the first time. No, I got rid of all that stuff. Well, that's good. Why did you do that? Well, Mum said. Right, I interrupted, showing my disappointment. Mum said. She thought it better I took up some things that we could do together. Like what? Well, before you got here I was close to finishing a cardigan. Oh my God, Peter, I cackled. She has you knitting as well? He went red-faced. I think he was only just realizing how in deep he now was. Do you like it? Knitting? I continued, unable to hide the mockery in my voice. It's quite calming. God, she's turning you into her little mini-me. Yeah, he said, in limp defiance. Well, what do you do that's so much more exciting? Oh, believe me, I play as hard as I work. I have a life, you know, Peter. I'm not spending all my time cooped up with Mummy knitting and listening to her rabbit on all night being all girly girl. I've been going out with a guy I met. And yes, before you ask, he's lovely and we're getting on very well, thank you very much. Planning a trip to Spain for the summer, hopefully. Right. And you're going to resent me for that too, aren't you? I said, waggling my finger close to his face. Which is really sad. I worked hard to get where I am, and you're just going to perch ever so daintily on Mum's sofa in your prissy little outfit and pretty lady's shoes and judge me for wanting to live my life like an adult. Give over, Emily. I want to live my life as well. Oh, you do resent me. You just think some great cosmic injustice has been done to you, some grand conspiracy that's left you stuck at home with Mummy. Give me a break. It's hard for my generation. Read the news. I laughed. Peter, I'm like 4 years older than you. That excuse doesn't work on me. Whatever. From my perspective, I continued, getting into my stride, you need to learn a bit of self-respect. I didn't mean to get all holier than thou, but I didn't really have the tact to approach this from any other angle. Here it comes, he said, rolling his eyes. Did I ask for any advice? I don't think I did. Well, I see it as my duty to give you advice, help you understand how the world works. Being your older sister and everything. I'm happy to help you out, but you need to learn to help yourself out as well or it's not going to work. Right. The most obvious thing is you've got to stop letting Mom control your life so much. Her house, he shrugged. He looked at me like what I said was easier said than done. Which, I suppose it was. Because, I continued, I suspect the longer you let her walk all over you, the longer you spend dressed like her little priss, knitting and tidying up and whatever else, the harder it's going to be to go back to living your own life. And at that point neither I nor anybody else is going to be able to help you. I stopped talking to let him think. I didn't really expect an answer. I know he said he didn't want a lecture, but I felt duty-bound at that point. I mean, what are your plans, really? Don't you want a relationship or something? Are you planning on meeting girls dressed like that? Obviously not. You need to get a life, Peter, to be blunt. We don't all like going out getting pissed every night. Oh, get over yourself. We don't all like dressing up and wasting our lives knitting and tidying up after our mothers, but hey ho. I felt a bit guilty with how dejected he suddenly looked. Peter, I added, I want to help you. Genuinely. But only if you'll let me. He shrugged. So you're done making fun of me then? I wasn't trying to make fun of you. Well, you managed it anyway. I was getting a bit bored of his attitude. Jesus, stop whinging, you sissy, I said. Anyway, I'm not just going to offer you empty advice. I'm your big sister, remember? I want to help you out. I'll believe that when I see it. Okay then, fine. But I want to make it clear that I'm only going to offer this to you once. Whether you take it or not is really up to you. Your life, your decisions. He perked up all of a sudden. What kind of offer? I think you need time away from Mom, I said, stating the obvious. So I'm going to give you the chance to move in with me for a little while, if you want. Have some room to think for yourself away from Mom for a little bit. Because I don't think anything's going to change if you stay stuck here. Well, actually, things will change but will probably get a whole lot worse for you, knowing Mom. Wait, he said, stay with you? In town? Really? Yep, I nodded. Offer's there. And I really think you should take it. Won't be offering it again, I shrugged. And I'm not going to let it bother me if you don't. I could leave here today knowing full well you're going to end up completely under Mom's thumb. More of all this, I gestured at his feminine get-up. Because if you don't take up the offer then I can only assume this is what you want. It's not. Sure. Proof is in the pudding though. I think there's still a big part of you that wants to hide behind Mom's skirts and put off venturing into the big bad world. Never getting to really experience life, never really getting to enjoy yourself or finding out what you're really good at or interested in. But I'm not going to lie awake at night worrying about you if that part of you wins over. You're an adult, Peter, even though sometimes you seem to forget that. They were your choices that got you here. I've always believed that we need to own up to our own choices, wherever they lead us. I crossed my legs and smoothed the skirt of my dress. But you're my brother, I continued. And I want to give you a final chance at least. I paused. I tried to read his expression. So yeah, that's basically it. You can sleep in the spare room for a while. I don't mind. Providing of course that you show a bit of proactivity and try and better yourself. Actually put your mind to finding some proper work. He was looking down at his fingernails now. Not painted, but definitely manicured. And I'll get to dress however I like, he said, after a moment. I laughed. Yes, I'm not Mom. I solemnly swear you won't have to do a bit of knitting either. Although you would have to tidy up after yourself. I'm not cleaning up after you. It didn't take him very long to decide. Then yes. I think I'd like that. And you'd promise to actually look for a job, with the aim of finding your own place? Yes, 100%. He seemed suddenly to assume a more confident air. as confident as a young man could possibly look dressed in his mom's pussy bow blouse. Yes. I accept. Hold your horses, I said, dampening his sudden enthusiasm. That's not going to cut it. We're not done yet. I'm going to want a little more from you than the word yes. I want to see a little action on your part. But before we do that, I need to emphasize that I'm only offering this once. If I'm not convinced by the time I leave that you're going to be able to take full advantage of this opportunity, that you'll be able to stand on your own 2 feet, then whoops, the offer's gone. And no amount of pleading can get it back. I'll go on with my life, my boyfriend, my friends in the city, my holidays, and you'll have to figure your own way out. Which might be hard dressed in a blouse and dainty little ballet flats. I accept it, Emily, he said, desperately. I accept the offer. I'll look for jobs. I'll be proactive and I'll hand out CVs, and I can do evening classes or something. Okay, but that's talk, isn't it? No, I mean it. I'm ready now. I don't want to live here, and you're right, being with Mum has rubbed off on me far too much, and I do want to go back to dressing as a man again, and all that stuff. Peter, hold on, be quiet for a sec. I don't just want you to say you want it. I'm going to need you to actually stand up for yourself. Tell Mum yourself that you're not going to put up with her deciding everything for you. Not anymore. Because I just know you were expecting me to do it, weren't you? Big sister swoops in, tells Mum what's what, and whisks you away. I'd bet my life savings that's what you thought was going to happen. But I also promise you that that is absolutely not going to happen. This is going to be all on you. I'm not saying a word to Mum. But if you don't speak up and tell her how you actually feel, what your plans are, then whoops, you missed your chance. I'll leave, and you'll still be here next week, next month, and however many years, stuck here with Mum. Wasting your life away dressed like a silly little lady. You know it's supposed to be women who complain they're ending up like their mothers? Well, that'll be you, Peter, whether you like it or not. That'll happen. Come on, Emily, he moaned, visibly agitated. Let me take this chance. You said yourself this would be such a good opportunity for me. Then take it. I said. She's just your mum, for Christ's sake. I looked over at him. I could tell his mind was racing, but he wasn't moving a muscle. So I got up and invited him to give me his arm. But he didn't budge. So, surprising myself, I grabbed his arm myself and hoisted his rather small body up out of the sofa cushions that had seemed set to swallow him. When he was on his feet, I put my hands on his shoulders, brought myself down to his eye level, and told him what I wanted to see. You're going to go up those stairs and tell Mummy very plainly that you're not going to put up with this anymore. No more blouses or ladies' shoes or spending your Sundays dressing up and serving guests with your little tea set. Please, Emily. No more knitting. No more manicures. If you've had enough of it all, you're going to go upstairs and tell her straight up, right now. Emily, if you just let me speak. I shook my head. No. You're going to go up those stairs. And you're going to be an adult and put a stop to this right now. And then you're going to come downstairs again. Only then will I know you're serious, that you'll make a go of this opportunity. But I swear, Peter, if you come down those stairs still in Mum's blouse, still with foundation on, offer's gone. You blew it. You're on your own. And I'm not going to spend another second worrying about where you're going to end up. Worrying about you wasting your life traipsing after Mum and dressing like a sad little lady in the little prissy blouses or whatever else Mum has you wear. Not another second am I going to worry about any of that. You will have made your bed, and you are going to sleep in it. Do you understand? His shoulders dropped. He looked utterly conflicted. Well, do you get what I'm saying or not? I nudged his shoulder. He couldn't look me in the eye. Yes. Stop. Okay. Just give me a second. I know you want this, Peter. You don't want to spend the rest of your life with Mum, do you? You must be going stir crazy in here. And look at you. I looked down at his feet. Are you wearing tights? Jesus Christ, where's your self-respect? Emily, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. You want me to come down without the blouse? And the shoes? And wash off your makeup? Otherwise, offer's gone. I shrugged, as if there was no helping it. I'm not hanging around much longer. His anxiety was palpable. Okay, he said, in a weak voice. I'll go. I watched him as he quietly walked into the hall, heard the creaking of the banister as he held onto it, then up the stairs step by step. I felt a little bit guilty once Mum started raising her voice. Mum can be fierce when she wants to be. Part of the reason I jumped ship and moved out so young was because I was fed up with her constantly telling me I was doing this or that wrong, that I wasn't dressed smart enough or my skirt was too short of whatever else. Messy room. Dirty bowls in the sink after breakfast. Whatever. I mean, looking back, she was only trying her best. Single mother with a teenage girl. I think she was petrified of losing control of us. And Peter's current predicament is understandable in that light. Better him than me. Peter was now in her bedroom, the room just above the lounge where I was still sitting. The tea had gone cold. I could hear Mum's raised voice, muted by the floorboards. Only when the bedroom door opened could I hear what she was saying. After all this trouble, in my own house, I asked for one little thing. It also sounded like she was marching up and down. Her voice suddenly became much clearer. I figured they'd left her room and were heading towards the stairs. And I got everything so nice for you and all I asked was you to help around the house, and so what if I prefer if you wore ladies' shoes? It's not a crime to ask you to wear certain things for me in my own house, I guess it? And you would be sitting around wasting your life if it wasn't for me, and you come up here when we have a guest and act like a big girl's blouse, going on and on with mummy this, mummy that. How ridiculous do you sound? Really, Peter? And you want to be treated like an adult? You want to run off to your sister? Well, good bloody riddance. I swear to God I'd be bloody happy if you left. They came to the top of the stairs and she suddenly stopped when she saw me at the bottom. Typical for her, she was dressed quite smartly in a skirt and blouse, and makeup even on a random rainy Sunday. I mean, sure, she had a guest, but it was only me. She smiled. An emotional 180. Wiped the corner of her lip. Afternoon, Emily. I like your dress. Hi, Mum. Thanks. Sorry about that, she added. I don't suppose you had anything to do with it. I was just saying, if he was having trouble finding a job, then it might have been easier if he moved in nearer the city center. But, well, I figured I'd have him give an answer today. If he wants to move in with me, then that's fine, but I've got my own life to live. I told him if that's what he wants then he can, but I'm not sticking around waiting. Right, Mum replied. That explains his rude little interruption. I was getting ready thinking he was downstairs looking after you, and here he is at my door giving me all this. She moved her hand like a puppet talking. About the offer though, she shrugged, that's up to him. She turned to look at him, but he was frozen up. Just as I expected, he hadn't changed out of any of his clothes. Hadn't even tried to wash off his makeup. But, Mom continued. I'm ready now. She gave a little Hollywood diva pose, then gave Peter a little nudge. He hesitated, but didn't see another option, and began to descend the stairs. Mum followed behind, with her best hostess smile, as ladylike as she could. Lacquered fingernails on her son's shoulder. I had to admit a bit of admiration for my mother then, the way she so quickly asserted herself. How effortlessly she got my brother under control. But Peter looked dreadfully pale. He no doubt saw my raised eyebrows. All I was thinking was, really? Really, Peter? As pitiful as he looked, I wasn't going to budge from what I'd said. As soon as he stepped off that last step, he was all Mum's. Them's the rules. I have no idea what was going through his head. I think he'd just given up. With their feet finally on terra firma again, Mum reached over and gave me a hug. Big hit of floral perfume. Not my taste, but it will always give me good memories. Good to see you, love, she said, letting me go. But as I was saying, If Peter really wants to join you living it up in the city, then fine. I'm not holding him prisoner. And, she continued, putting her hands on her hips and inspecting her son, I'm not even going to say he can't come back. Because as you'll soon find out, Peter, it's a big bad world out there. There's a lot of people out there who want the same very thing you do, but who've had to work twice as hard. Who are used to working twice as hard and are going to be working twice as hard. And you very well may get a bit of a shock when you find that out. The world does not revolve around you. God, he looked small then. Mom turned to me. Isn't that right? I nodded. So, she continued, talking down to my brother, unless you buck up your ideas and actually commit to this, you may very well end up right back here with me. Come all the way back to live with Mummy again. But after today's little outburst, I'm not going to put up with any more nonsense from you. And you certainly won't be having an easy time of it. Not at all. Mummy's got a few ideas of how things could change around here, and I don't think you'll like them very much. Because I don't intend to spend my life appeasing you. Not after your little performance upstairs. Not after listening to you moan about how terrible it is to dress as your mother likes. How terrible it is to have a roof over your head when all I ask in return is that you look nice for me. She put her hand to her mouth in fake shock. How bloody awful of me. No, Peter, she continued. If you ever came back, I would be expecting a lot more from you. If you think I'm demanding now, I'd just love for you to find out what I'm capable of. You've no idea. And I'm not saying all this to be cruel. I just think your sister is right. Now is your time to leave the nest and have a go at it. Spread your wings, Peter. Your sister's nice enough to give you the opportunity to live a bit more independently, give you a very good chance to start out on a fulfilling career for yourself. She leant over and straightened out a crease in his blouse. And yes, it might be hard. That's something we all deal with. But I do not want you thinking that you can just schlep back home for the easy life with Mummy. Even I was a bit scared when Mom was in full force like this. No. Coming back with your tail between your legs would say one thing and one thing only. I have given up. And that is just not good enough. And no doubt you'd be expecting me to pick up after you. Not going to happen. I'd be making use of you, Peter, I really will. You'd be back living under my roof and I won't be afraid of asking from you what I really want. You'd be contributing. A great deal more than you contribute now. In fact, I'd have it in mind for you to take over all the housework. Mom shrugged, as if it was self-evident. If you're too lazy to get a full-time job of your own, then I've got one for you right here. Keeping house. There's laundry and washing and cleaning and ironing and more besides. And I don't just mean cleaning up after your own mess. No. You're going to learn how to look after me, she said, with a cheeky grin. And as you know, I can be ever so particular, Peter. You know just what a silly old lady I am, with my penchant for pretty blouses. All those dreadful blouses you hate so much in silk and lace and with pretty little bows. She played with the bow on the front of Peter's blouse, a cruel smile on her lips. Well, they'd be your problem then, Peter. All the ironing and washing. And then there's painting my nails, she said, counting out on her fingers, and helping me zip up in the morning, and polishing my pretty shoes, and helping me put my makeup on. I have so many ideas, Peter. Mum, Peter said, trying to intervene. Mommy. Don't me, Peter. Don't think just because your sister's here I'm going to let you get away with acting like you're too grown-up and manly man to refer to your mother properly. And you can be damn sure I'll be insisting on that if you come back here with your tail between your legs. Because I'm starting to think you're forgetting what respect means. But I won't be letting you forget it. And you'll see it means more than calling me the right name. I'd be making it absolutely clear who's in charge. If you thought putting on a nice blouse for Mummy was too big of an imposition, oh my, you have no idea. She did a playful little curtsy in her skirt. If I'm going to be putting all this effort into looking nice, then you'd be doing the very same thing. Because you won't be a guest in this house. You'd be here on my terms and my terms alone. And if I want you to put on a skirt, You'll damn well be doing it. There'd be no more masculine posturing from you, Peter. I'm going to free you of that nasty habit completely. I'd be dead set on it. And you know what I'm like. So there'd be no more moaning about having to put on one of my tops. Oh no. I have enough clothes upstairs for 4 ladies, never mind just the 2 of us, and I'm not going to beg and scrape to get you to put on something pretty for me like I had to do when I first got you wearing my blouses. She was shaking her head. She pointed up the stairs. No. There are enough skirts and dresses up there for us both, and I'd be taking a good look through them just for you, Peter. Because there'd only be one person who got to wear trousers in this house, and it damn well wouldn't be you. You can count on that. She paused and took a breath. Yes. Mummy likes that idea very much indeed. Because if her little lamb can't hack it in the outside world, then maybe she'd be best placed learning how to be a nice and neat precious little lady. Little Miss Priss. All dressed up in one of Mummy's frocks. My God, did Peter look utterly drained of life then? You could have knocked him over with a feather. Mom carried on. If you came back, Peter, I wouldn't let you be a disturbance, or a burden, or let you in any way be a problem for me. That would end then and there as soon as you set foot back in this house. You'd have to admit your silly old mother was right all along. And you'd leave every pretense of being a real man, of marching about in trousers like you own the place, at the door. She suddenly stopped, cleared her throat, composed herself, looked first to me, then back at Peter, wondering why we weren't responding. Jumped in again. That is, of course, if you ended up staying here. But since you're going with Emily, I wish you all the best. She smiled, as if she didn't just spend the last few minutes engaged in a ruthlessly humiliating tirade. Well, Mom, about that, I said. Peter's not coming to me. My brother looked me dead in the eye, as if he hadn't actually believed I'd rescind my offer. He's not? No. I told Peter I wanted to see him stand up for himself, to go up and tell you how he really felt. I'm sorry he upset you. That's on me. Don't be sorry, she replied. I'd have wanted to know. I told him to do that because I wanted to see if he was capable of it. I needed to know that it was going to be worth my while to put him up and help him out. I just wanted to see a bit of spunk, a bit of spark. Because that's the bare minimum of what he'd need if he was going to make it on his own. That is the bare minimum, Mom replied, slowly nodding. And I'm sorry it had to be done that way. I felt it would be the only way to prove Peter was absolutely serious about standing up for himself, because nobody's going to do it for him. And he'd need to at least be able to speak his mind to you if he was ever going to do that in the real world. Exactly, Mom replied. I only asked him for one thing. I was looking at Peter now. That he come back down those stairs dressed ready to leave. No blouse, no makeup, no ladies' shoes. None of it. And here he is, Mum said, chuckling to herself. She nudged Peter with her elbow. Oh, this is brilliant. You had a good crack at it though, didn't you, Peter? Marching in like that. Making a big ruckus. Thought you had your big boy pants on, didn't you? And yet here you are. Just a big girl's blouse, she said, jabbing her finger in his chest after each word. And don't think what I've forgotten what I just said. I said if you spoiled this chance your sister gave you, you wouldn't be having it easy from me anymore. No siree. And you've shown to both of us that you can't even manage that. What an opportunity. Thrown it all away like everything else. I'm not impressed. Not impressed at all. I'm sorry, Mummy, he mumbled. Oh, don't be. Your loss is my gain. She smiled. Emily? Mom asked suddenly. Peter's going to come up with me to get changed properly. Lovely, I said, trying to hide my sarcasm. I've got a lovely skirt that would go with this blouse. Can't wait to see it, I replied, smiling. Good. She straightened her skirt, pushed a strand of hair back over her ear, dislodged during one of her outbursts. Right. Come on now, Peter. You can take those trousers and put them away at the back of my wardrobe. Because you're damn well not seeing those again.